Government or national security? Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this Monday night, March 23rd, 2026. President Trump was in town today. Oh, he went to Graceland, the home of Elvis Presley, the second most visited home in the nation next to the White House. I don't think he had ever been there before. We have a lot of video footage to show you. We'll save it for the end of the program. We have to do our work first. And after that, we can have a little recess, have a little fun, and show you some great video of President Trump at Graceland today. He was here to tout what he has done to the Mid-South. And what he has done is quite remarkable and historic. And we sure appreciate what President Trump has done. He has cleaned up Memphis. Boy, he has brought the crime down to like 100-year-plus low. And he says it's even going to get better. If you like what you see now, Memphians, he says, you just wait. It's even going to get better. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the program, but I'll tell you, he's done a remarkable job cleaning up Memphis with our National Guard and getting the governor to bring in the national or the state police, which we very rarely saw state police unless you jumped on Interstate 40 headed toward Nashville. You hardly ever saw them in the Shelby County Mid-South area. But that changed. Now they're everywhere. Crime has come down. Man, can you imagine him doing this to other cities, Baltimore, Chicago, and so much more? Isn't this the first priority and function of government, security and protection? Indeed, it is. Well, he has all the right to come to town and take a lap of victory when it comes to what he's done for Memphis and to Memphis. He's cleaned it up, and then he finished his trip off here to the Mid-South. Was, as I said, a trip to Graceland, where I've been twice. Have you been there? If not, or even if you have, you'll sure enjoy some of the fun we'll have tonight, showing some video of President Trump at Graceland in some of the various rooms. So we'll get to that tonight. But first up, Patrick Wood's going to join us because, as you know, Patrick and I are spending a lot of time studying what's happening in the Middle East, largely under the leadership of President Trump when it comes to IMEC. That's the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. And it's pretty exciting. From a biblical Bible prophecy standpoint. We'll talk about that tonight with Patrick. And we'll go to some of these articles over at worldviewreport.com. Gulf banking mergers, how mega deals are reshaping the region's financial landscape. That's in the Gulf. United Arab Emirates, Dubai Ports Group to develop Iraq's Al-Fal Grand Port. I'm going to show you the connection between that Al-Fal port and Iraq that I've been talking about the last few years, as Iraq and Babylon are coming back to life as a major commercial center of the world, but making a connection between the IMEC and the Al-Fal port through the United Arab Emirates. I'll show you that in an article tonight. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Any other topics? Oh, yeah. Saudi Arabia, 2.7 billion AI data center. Yeah. The world's focus is going to quickly shift, my friends, to the Middle East. What will that mean for America? What will that mean for America? I can tell you from Revelation chapter 18, the Middle East is going to become a center of massive wealth. I don't know what that means for America. And frankly, I have to put on different hats tonight. As an American, with my American hat on, I'm like, what's going to happen to America? I don't see American Bible prophecy. Uh-oh. But then I take off that hat, I put on my Bible prophecy hat, as a student of Bible prophecy, and I'm like, I hope President Trump is highly successful in what he's doing over there, because it seems to me he's setting the stage for the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, which I don't have to agree with everything that's going to go on over there, but it sure gives me an indication of where we're at on God's timetable. And I don't know about you, but I like that prayer of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We're to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We're to pray for God's kingdom to come. We don't build it, God brings it. Daniel 2:43-45. We're to pray, thy kingdom come. That means the millennial kingdom. Well, are we seeing signs of events that will happen with the Antichrist on the scene? during the tribulation with a one world religion, a one world government, and a one world economy, I think we see the stage setting. And I get kind of excited about that because it helps me understand how close we are to what is our ultimate prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Are you praying for the Lord to set up his kingdom, to see the end of this sinful world as we know it today, to see sin bound, as it were, during the millennial kingdom, where the lion will lay down with the lamb? Are you excited to see these things and to be a part of that? Of course you are. Any believer should be. Particularly as you get older and older, you become more weary of what's happening in our world and our culture, this sin-filled world. So I get excited about this from a Bible prophecy student perspective because I think it tells me where we're at on God's calendar. So we're going to talk about that a little bit with Patrick Wood. Then I'm going to be joined by Anni Cyrus because she has a brand new book out. Her book is now launched. I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about what's going on a little bit more with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and some of the things that are going down with the Middle East that Annie can help us have a perspective on. Because, folks, I think more and more we're going to find ourselves turning to talk about the Middle East. Because you know what? In Bible prophecy, that's where it really is going to all happen, right there in the Middle East. So get used to talking about it. I got a brand new article out, friends. Go to worldviewtimes.com. There it is. Daniel 2 in the final system. Revived Rome, rebuilt Babylon, IMAC, Gaza, and the Strait of Hormuz. That's based on my Bible study from last night. We've turned it into an article with a lot of maps and graphics. I hope you'll check it out. worldviewtimes.com. All right, before we get going, remember, we need your support. worldviewfoundation.com. worldviewfoundation.com. Look at that new lower third. Wow. Is that the first for that tonight? Wow, looking good. Worldviewfoundation.com is one of the most powerful ways to support us to keep pushing out free Christian worldview programming. Even $10 a month, $20 a month, it adds up. So please don't discount $10 or $20 a month thinking it's not enough to make a difference. Oh, that's not true. Most of our donors are small dollar donors. So worldviewfoundation.com. Hey, you want to support us and your health? Go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Find out about things like Numi, loaded with glutathione to detox your cells. To detox your cells. By the way, can you tell I'm feeling better, Logan? Yeah, you can. I have a little more of a pep in my step. Hey, that rhymed, Logan. I have a more pep in my step tonight. I'm feeling a little better. I'm telling you what, folks. At the apex of that pinched nerve, herniated disc, C6, C7, and the pinched nerve in my shoulder and shoulder blade and the stabbing knife in my bicep and forearm, I'm telling you, I was suffering, like suffering. It has been a long road back. And I would say I'm about 90% back right now. Let's hope I don't do 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I'm at about 90% back, maybe 85% back. But I'm telling you what, I was in so much pain. I'll take how I feel right now compared to what it was. It was horrible. But I'll tell you, I've been loading up on my glutathione. I've been loading up on my Bella Grace. I've been doing 2 Bella Graces a day to try to get all that inflammation down. Because you remember I ran out of Bella Grace for 2 weeks during that snowstorm. That's when a lot of my problems started. But I also have been getting shots. I've been giving myself shots in the stomach every day, as you know. I'm taking, what am I taking, Logan? BPC 157. It's WD-40 for the human body, basically. It's all natural to your body, and it decreases the inflammation as well, and gets that pinched nerve in C6, C7 down. And boy, I'll tell you what, wow. After being in all this pain the last multiple weeks, I'm staying up on my Numi, detoxing my cells, doing my Bella Grace, taking my Gatatana, which one little scoop is equivalent to 90 billion plant cells. I'm staying up on this stuff, folks. Not that I wasn't staying up on it, but I am definitely not going to let myself run out of the Bella Grace, which I did for 2 weeks. And like I said, that's when it seemed to all start with inflammation. I am doing the red sauna. I also been living with ice, lots and lots of ice, pretty much 24/7. Tonight's the first night I haven't had ice against my back while on TV. Normally I've got a big old ice pack back there. Tonight I'm not doing that because I'm feeling pretty good. But other than that, I sleep with ice. I do a lot of my research lately laying down so that I'm studying with a big pillow in my lap, laying down with ice packs all over my neck and back, looking up at the computer monitor, because apparently what did it was like this, typing and looking down all the time. So I've been doing the last few weeks of my Bible study, because I have to study so many hours, laying on my back, but looking up at the computer monitor that's propped up on a pillow, and I've got multiple ice packs on the neck and back. And I'm telling you, I've been doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks to get this inflammation down. So there you go. Any of you that's suffering with this is all I can recommend. I don't give medical advice, but I would say use the ice. Use the ice. And I'm pretty excited about the peptide BPC 157. So I'll be on that for the next several weeks. But anyway, stay up on your health is kind of the point I'm making. Because when you don't have your health and you don't feel good, life is miserable. Life is miserable when you don't feel good. So keep up with your health. You'll find a lot of the great products there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Let me take you there. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Great ways to support us and your health at the same time. All right, we got a lot to do tonight, so let's get to it. Joining me now is Patrick Wood. As you know, I'm teaching through the book of Daniel on Sunday nights. What an appropriate time to teach through the book of Daniel. We spent a year and a half going through the book of Revelation together, verse by verse. Then I went right into Daniel. Daniel's really the foundation for the book of Revelation. Should have taught Daniel first, but I knew more people would probably pay attention if I taught Revelation first. And the timing that we're in Revelation now, Daniel now, is so shocking to me. Because Daniel chapter 2, as you know, Nebuchadnezzar has a vision of a statue, and it lists his kingdom as it's described by Daniel to him. Daniel, the prophet of God, is given the dream and the meaning by God. He then goes to Nebuchadnezzar, says, here's the meaning of your dream. Here's the interpretation. Here's what you dreamed and the interpretation. You, O king, are the head of gold. And then he starts going from Babylon, the Medo-Persian, Greece, revived Roman Empire. And it's so interesting because here we are, I believe, on the precipice of seeing a revived Roman Empire, which was represented by the feet with 10 toes, partly of iron, partly of clay. They don't mix together quite so well, but it'll be a collection of people, religiously, cultural, economic, maybe there's some intermarriage, but they don't hold together very good, as clay, ceramic doesn't mix well with iron. But there's going to be a mixture of that iron and that clay, that revived Roman Empire coming off of the two legs of iron that's Rome, and then the feet, the extension, the revived Roman Empire. But they're also, according to Revelation 17 and 18, and it's also referenced in Daniel as well, they're going to be 10 world leaders, 10 assistants of Antichrist. And they're going to build a world headquarters in Babylon. So you have to have a revived Roman Empire, and you have to have a rebuilt Babylon. That area is vast if you go look at a map of what was Babylon, but we know that Babel is about 58 miles south of Baghdad. And we have been studying for some time the Fall Port, the All-Fall Port. When I wrote this book in 2016, The Coming Religious Reich, 500 pages, I didn't have a lot I could say about Babylon being rebuilt, other than 2 Army War College professors said we should move the United Nations to Babylon. Well, now it's 10 years later, and we have a gigantic port that is one of the largest commercial ports in the world. And we're going to show you tonight how President Trump and some of the leaders of Israel, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Greece, Italy, the European Commission, are working together with a memorandum of understanding to build what is known as IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Massive for trade. I think a lot of the world's attention and finances are headed to the Middle East. President Trump is out today on the tarmac in Florida before he came here to Memphis, talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Take a look at this. We have a brand new article up at worldviewtimes.com. You know, we have Worldview Radio, Worldview Tube, Worldview Times, radio, TV, and news. If you go to worldviewtimes.com, you get to one, you get to the other, really. You'll see a brand new article, Daniel 2 and the Final System. Revived Rome, Rebuilt Babylon, IMEC, Gaza, and the Strait of Hormuz. Patrick Wood and I are working together. Patrick had a great article last week. There it is right there. And we're working together and sharing research back and forth because this has been an obsession of mine since before. Obviously, the book came out in 2016. So I was studying this before 2016, studying the idea of a rebuilt Babylon. So I've been studying this for over a decade, the excitement of a rebuilt Babylon. And some people said, oh, no, Brandon, New York is Babylon. No. What proof do you have of that? What proof? Show me from the Bible. You know, when the Bible says Jerusalem, it means Jerusalem. Rome, it means Rome. Babylon, it means Babylon. And if you don't trust the Bible, well, then you're in big trouble. But if you do trust the Bible and you don't see something coming into focus, then you just wait. And that's what we've been patiently doing. And now we're starting to see, I believe, what could be the two dimensions of a final world system, a revived Roman Empire and a rebuilt Babylon. Patrick, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us tonight.
You bet. I wouldn't want to miss it.
This is fascinating. We got a lot to discuss. I was up pretty early today, just researching IMEC, researching the All-Fall Port some more. And I got some very interesting articles to share with you. But what did you make of the Daniel 2 study last night?
I really liked it. Nobody's talking about this except you and me, perhaps. You're mainly you talking about Daniel, but I think we've hit a nail on the head, and this is going to be a subject of research ongoing. I think a lot of people in the prophecy world will pick up on it, and we'll probably have some interesting discussions in the future for sure. But we're scratching the surface right now for sure.
And we're not being dogmatic about it, but we are saying, look, never in world history have we seen these nations work together for a trade route and a financial system. And the thing is, they're all tied together. As I tried to lay out last night from that digital PDF I found a few months ago, because I put into a search engine, will Gaza City be a digital city? Will Gaza be a digital city? And just by searching that, I stumbled on this PDF, this, being backed by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. And I'll show some screenshots as I did last night. Yes. All they talk about is IMEC, how important IMEC, this trade route is. They talk about an Abrahamic structure, an Abrahamic architecture, meaning President Trump's Abraham Accords of these, what I want to say is more moderate Muslim nations, and some of them haven't been so moderate, by the way, but perceived more moderate Muslim nations in contrast to, say, Iran. They are he's working with them to try to get them to make an agreement with Israel so they can have peace and then have economic and shared prosperity and wealth. And in that plan by Witkoff and Kushner for Gaza, you see IMEC is an important part of it. And they say that Gaza is the bridge for IMEC. And they state that this is also a big part of the Abraham Accords. Most people in America, and even in the Christian community, have no idea that IMEC, they don't even know what that is, most people. They don't understand what's going on with the Gaza plan. They haven't read this PDF. They aren't aware of what really the Abraham Accords are about, much less do they realize they all three go together. Then you add in the Iraq massive commercial port, Al-Fall port. They just finished their underground water tunnel, a tunnel going underwater. This has huge prophetic scenarios because an antichrist is going to show up and confirm a peace treaty. And the way the wording is, it seems as though it's already there. It just hasn't been put into effect. Whether we're talking about the Oslo Accords, the Camp David Accords, these various things are there. They just never been put into effect. So this is huge from a Bible standpoint. I said today on radio, I'm rooting for President Trump at many levels, obviously, but I'm really rooting for him to win this war in Iran. because it's kind of like me sitting here talking about the third temple. I don't need a third temple. The Bible says, ye are the temple of the living God. Those of us who have accepted Christ as our Lord and Savior, the Holy Spirit dwells in us. We are the temple, right? I don't need a third temple. But I sure am excited to see them talking about it and building the implements and the clothes and the instruments and the Levitical choir of the Levites, because it tells me where we're at on God's calendar. And if I believe that the church is removed, called up by God, by the Lord, at the sound of the trump, before the tribulation begins, then I know we have to have a tribulation temple, the third temple. We know we have to have the stage set for the Antichrist during the tribulation. We know we have to have peace treaties that can be confirmed and enacted by an Antichrist. So I watch all these things, not because I'm excited about that. I'm excited about where it tells me where we're at on God's calendar. And it gives me a sense of urgency to say, we don't have time to fool around, folks. The hour is late. We may not be here as Christians next week, next month, next year. And so for me, this is super exciting, and it should energize our faith. Do you agree with that? Add to it if you do.
I do. People are so interested in politics these days. They miss the stuff about trade, economics. That's boring to most people. They can't understand it. Maybe they're just mentally blocked because they're so interested in politics. Politics basically involves the discussion, the discourse about what's going on in society, as if we had some say. And when people talk politics, they want to argue about what's your opinion, my opinion, whatever. And you like Trump, not like Trump, or you like Harris or whatever. The big story here is just missing people altogether in the Gulf. There's a massive shift going on in the Gulf states collectively, where wealth is accumulating there like never before in history. And when I say that, when you look at what President Trump has done with his own portfolio in the Gulf states, he's put hotels there. He's spread his brand all over the place by licensing Trump this and that, or Trump Towers, et cetera. And he's also they've brought so many trillions of dollars into the United States, and they've exported some as well back to the Mideast. This is all based on trade. It's nothing else. You have to ask the question: why is President Trump so chummy at this point with all these Arab leaders, Qatar, Saudis, etc.? What's going on here? Well, there's a massive, massive trade shift, economic shift, and it's focused on the Mideast, not China, not Russia, not United States. It's in the Mideast.
And in fact, President Trump, I would say, and this was, of course, what I'd love to ask him if I could interview him at some point or had time to do that. In fact, he was in Memphis today. I didn't put in for a press interview. Our team talked about applying for some press passes and going. And I said, you know what, guys? We've been there and done that twice now at Mar-a-Lago with him. We've been there, done that. It was more exclusive and closed than we would ever get. There was only a few of us in the room with our team. It was us exclusively, what we were producing. I said, anything else we go do will be a letdown compared to what we've done, unless it's a direct sit down. And I don't think they're going to let his schedule be long enough to do any of that. And as we found out, he didn't. He gave his little speech in the airport hangar to some local officials about getting crime down, which is amazing what he's done. Thank you, President Trump. The crime dropping here is overwhelmingly amazing what he's done. And then immediately he left and went to Graceland. And then he's already, he right after that left and popped right on Air Force One to head back to D.C. So we didn't put in for all that because I said, there's too many important things going on right now to be distracted by that. Although we're glad he came to town. We're going to show some stuff tonight, have some fun with him going to Graceland. We love Elvis music and that whole culture of the 50s and 60s, and I guess the 70s, the Vegas Elvis. But I said, we just don't have the time to go do that and stand there and wait and screened in by security and all that, because there's so much going on that people aren't seeing that we're seeing, and we need to really stay focused. But I'm rooting for President Trump to be successful because from a biblical perspective, right? I got to take off my one hat and put on another hat. And when it comes to Bible prophecy, I'm rooting for him to be successful, what he's doing over there, because I'd like to see this whole thing get lined up and us to get called out of here. So just like I'm rooting for the building of the third temple and them to get organized, doesn't mean I need the temple. I don't want to, obviously it's going to be desecrated by the Antichrist halfway through. But at some point, these things have to happen. And I'm kind of excited that I'm getting to be a news guy and report on them as the stage increasingly is set. So at many levels, I'm rooting for him, regardless of what the motivation is. But I wonder if President Trump, and this is where I was going to say, if I ever got an interview with him, I would say, I don't know how we would answer it. Are you really fighting a war here with China? Is this really? Because I asked Gordon Chang that the other night, and he said, we are fighting a proxy war with China through Iran. And what Trump is proposing and the IMAC team is a complete competition to China's Belt and Road Initiative. So I wonder if this is more than just about Iran. It's also about China, and it's also about trade and money and finances and energy. Yes?
The whole global trade system is being broken apart and reassembled before our eyes. Many people in other countries have noticed this, where what we used to expect from global trade, the flows, this direction and that direction, this is all being turned on its head at this point. The major trade route in the future will be the IMEC corridor, hands down. And this is what people are saying. And it's shifting global trade altogether. And this has not happened in my 50 years of analyzing geopolitics. You probably haven't seen it either.
No.
But this is a new thing. We have to understand this is the new international order, this economic order that's being built right before our eyes. This is what the Trilateral Commission talked about in 1973. This is what the Trilateral Commission talked about in 2023 when a guy stood up, a member stood up in their meeting in India, by the way, and said this is year one of the new international economic order. Well, what does that tell you? Just 6 months after that, the agreement was signed to develop IMEC. Mm-hmm. What? Okay, that's just a coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, and of course, for IMEC to be successful, they have to get the Strait of Hormuz. This is like,
they do.
This is the missing piece. If they have this, they pretty much have everything else. Now, here was President Trump. I want you to comment on that, but here's President Trump leaving Florida this morning, headed up here to Memphis. Listen to what he said about the Strait of Hormuz.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
Who is going to control the Strait of Hormuz? Jointly controlled. Who would the jointly be, folks? That's your IMEC people. We'll get to that in a minute, but listen else what he said.
By whom?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and
of
the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of diversion.
Okay, I think he threw the Ayatollah in there just because he's trying to negotiate right now. He had it right the first time. Who's going to control the Strait of Hormuz? Me. Because when you look at the International Board of Peace and you look at their Gaza plan, it specifically mentions IMAC, and he's the chairman of the board. He has full control. He's the developer in chief, and now he's the global developer in chief. And I think that me and the Ayatollah, I think he backtracked a little bit and threw in the Ayatollah because the first point was pretty clear. Want to listen again?
If this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By whom?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the
I think he's dead serious because he's not fooling around and he doesn't want to deal with a bunch of committees, right? He is going to be the chairman of the board. He's going to call the shots. He's going to control the Strait of Hormuz, because this is the linchpin to the whole plan. Is it not?
Yeah, exactly. And there's never been a time in history, in modern history, where a sitting president of the United States has gone outside of the United States and set up other structures, especially global structures, that were not based on the United States in the first place. This is not Make America Great program. This is Trump's program. He's in charge of Gaza altogether, not just the governance layer, but also the financial layer, because his financial company is called World Liberty Financial, has introduced a tokenization scheme to basically tokenize the whole area of Gaza and all the buildings that get put in there as well. This has never been the history in the world where one person has that kind of influence over an area of such a critical area in this whole trade scheme. And when he talks about controlling anything, is he talking now as a president of the United States, or is he talking as a private citizen? You can't tell at this point,
right?
But we've never dealt with this, and Congress at this point is just giving them a free pass to do it. That's an amazing thing to me. You'd think somebody would step up in Congress and say, wait a minute, you can't do that. You can't represent your business interests over here and still be the sitting president over here in America. It's just incredible to me.
It is absolutely incredible. And I believe, and this is my opinion, you can tell me whether you agree or not, I believe what is happening now is largely happening, which is why I think he's going to be successful. I don't know if we'll see casualties. I pray we don't see casualties of American soldiers. There's about 4,000 plus Marines are going into that region now, and they want to talk about maybe boots on the ground to get control of the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know what's going to happen, but if I had to guess tonight, I would say the Lord is stepping back and he's going to let these guys be successful. Because Bible prophecy must come to pass as foretold. And I believe there are times when the Lord steps up and says to world leaders, you're not going to be allowed to do that. He stops Alexander the Great. He stops Napoleon. He stops Nero. He stops Hitler. Antichrist knows what he wants to build. He wants to build an earthly kingdom, right? Daniel tells us about it. Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 17, Revelation 18. But God stops these people at some point in history. I have to wonder if now everything is lining up for the Lord to step back, the Lord God to step back and starts letting them do what's in their heart, right? The free will of man. He just steps back and lets them do what's in their heart and mind. It's already there. He just gives them the path to do it. I think President Trump may very well be successful. And if he's not, I believe he will get the ball down the field, and just my opinion, it'll then be picked up by perhaps an Antichrist figure to finish. And I'm just throwing out my theories right now. I don't know how far Trump will go, but if we're in that window where these things are allowed to come to pass, as described in Daniel 2, 7, Revelation 17, 18, the Antichrist we know has to, according to Daniel 7, rip 3 leaders out by the roots. They're not going along with his agenda. And Daniel 7 says he comes along, he rips 3 leaders out by the roots and replaces them for his 10 leaders that are going along. So the question is, how far down the field to the goal line do these current leaders get, including President Trump, before a global leader steps up and rips out 3 leaders by the roots and finishes it up? I don't know, but it feels to me prophetically, with all the other convergence of prophetic and biblical events and world events happening that line up with the Bible, it seems to me we're in that season.
We talked a lot. How does America get out of the picture in the end times? Because we're not mentioned anywhere. At this point, we see these arch technocrats in Washington, D.C. They're basically taking over our country with AI and stuff like that. But this whole thing, the AI stack, as it's called, this is being exported to the world at this point, especially to the Mideast. and they've established contacts or deals, trade deals, to deliver the AI stack, if you will, that's the whole technology stack, to the Mideast. Well, at this point, if President Trump is going to act as an individual in the Mideast, that diminishes our ability in America to project ourselves into the Mideast. You see where I'm going with this here? And all of a sudden, America is being minimized and Trump is being maximized in that region. And he's in bed with the leaders, the financial leaders in the UAE, with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, all of them. And at this point, well, he's making his deals. If he gets out of being president someday, he'll be set for life, obviously, with a nice cushy job, basically be the king of Gaza at that point. So,
or king of the Middle East, right?
That's right. So at this point, okay, what's going on with America? I think this is really a significant tell on the state of timing at this point, because if all of a sudden America is not significant anymore, politically, economically, et cetera, and all the wealth of the world is shifting to the Mideast, that leaves us high and dry.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've seen this, but in my early morning research today, because I'm just absolutely like you, obsessed with this topic, I found a quote, a video of the CEO of NVIDIA. Look at what the CEO of NVIDIA, this is a brand new quote from the last few days. Listen to what the CEO of NVIDIA had to say about what's going on with Iran.
I was also asked, given what's happening in the Middle East, is that an area where we believe that we can expand artificial intelligence to? I believe that there's a reason we went to war, and I believe at the end of the war, Middle East will be more stable than before. And so if we were there, if we were considering it before, we should absolutely be considering it after. And so I'm 100% in on that.
So there you go. These guys all these AI computer guys are counting on the Middle East being stabilized and being great for business. Had you seen that clip?
No, I haven't, but I've seen the counterpart, if you will, from other leaders in that industry, including people like Sam Altman, who said a few months ago, maybe a year ago, that he foresees an expenditure of $7 trillion to build out the AI industry around the world. And most of that money is coming from the Mideast at this point. So Sam Altman has figured this out already. The source of wealth is coming from that region. They're investing money in America, but they're also investing countless millions in their own countries to build data centers, like this new one that's being developed right now. In the Saudi Arabia, $2.7 billion AI data center. That'll consume a few chips for sure. And so why do they need this in a desert where most of the population is unbanked? Mm-hmm. That means they don't even have a bank account. Why do they need all these AI data centers in the Mideast, growing out of the sand? Well, you say there's no defensible reason other than they're preparing some type of assault on global financial technologies. And you couple that with what's going on with the trade. This all about this at that point. This all about trade. These people in the Mideast, they understand trade probably more than anybody in America. Trump is thrown in with them at this point. He understands trade as well. So does Kushner. So is his sons, Don and Eric. So, what's going on here? Well, it's all about trade. It's all about economics. Forget politics. Politics doesn't have anything to do with it at this point because nobody's discussing it. When President Trump stood up and established the Board of Peace in the first place, did anybody discuss it? Was there any political discussion in America? No, there wasn't, because it wasn't political. It was economics. And you're going to see this kind of stuff these kind of decisions, they're made priori on their part. We'll have no discussion. No discussion will be in America, and Congress won't touch it with a 10-foot stick. And this is the way the world is going to go forward from here on, I think, without the political system to encumber what's going on.
Let me play a video for you. This is coming from the Twitter account of the American Jewish Community. What it's called, the American Jewish Community. Here's what they wrote. The India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, IMEC, represents a powerful shift in regional dynamics that will link India, the Middle East, and Europe through new infrastructure, trade, and strategic cooperation. The deepening partnership between India and Israel underscores this momentum. So let that sink in, folks. The deepening partnership between India and Israel underscores this momentum. At the NXT Conclave 2026, attended by more than 5,000 participants and featuring over 100 speakers from 20-plus countries, AJC Chief Policy and Political Affairs Officer, and that's obviously the American Jewish Community, Chief Policy and Political Affairs Officer, Jason Isaacson, joined a panel moderated by AJC Asia Director Sharia Lowenberg to offer regional perspectives on the emerging, listen now, new world order. Have you seen this yet, Patrick?
Nope. But there it is.
There it is. Their own words. Here we go.
IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which on this stage a year ago, AJC had a chance to discuss with some of our friends and colleagues from the region, is another example of that changing dynamic of India and neighboring countries working on common problems together, seizing opportunities together. The India-Israel relationship, which was again on full display in the Prime Minister's visit on February 26, 27, where you have now the prospect of a very significant increase in the defense relationship between India and Israel, but also 16 other agreements that were inked in the course of that visit. Another strong bilateral or regional agreement that is flowing from this new reality that we're all facing.
This was on March 13th, 2026. Now, again, their own words. He offers regional perspective on the emerging new world order. Their words, not ours, Patrick.
That's right. That's right. This is the new international economic order, pure and simple. And it's new. Maybe you could call it the new world order versus the old new world order. But the old order at this point has been just blasted to smithereens, and we need to understand what's going on now. This is not the old world order. We don't play by those rules anymore. Something new is happening. We need to look at, just for that purpose alone, we need to analyze this with new eyes, with new perspective, with new tools. What's going on is significant. It's tectonic in the world of trade.
Let's go to a slide presentation. This is from my Bible study on the book of Daniel last night as I finished up Daniel chapter 2. I made a chart, small one, not totally exhaustive, but a small chart. Major wars fought over trade routes. So many wars have been fought over trade routes. This skirmish right now is not just about national security. It's not just about Iran having nuclear weapons, because, we were on here last week saying, well, we know that Peter Pry, the late CIA analyst, said at this desk a few years ago now, saying they've probably had a nuclear weapon for some time. Likely now, as of today, probably for a decade. Now, we also saw over the weekend they shot a missile, thousands of miles. I'm not saying Iran isn't a threat. I'm not saying they're not the largest funder of terrorism on the planet. But what is driving them now and at this time, I believe, is trade, partnerships, IMEC, the Abraham Accords. This is what's really driving, as Smedley Butler, the general, said when he wrote that book, War is a Racket. Almost all wars are fought for corporations. It seems that this is the case as well. And with that being said, let me go to this, another slide. Why the Strait of Hormuz matters so much. 25% of global seaborne oil trade, 20% of global oil petroleum product consumption, 20% of global LNG trade, just in 2024. Now I want to go to, that's the fall port, which I've talked about in Babylon now for a few years. It's almost completely finished. What's interesting is I found an article today trying to tie the fall port back to the IMEC. And what I found, Patrick, was an article, and I linked it over at worldviewreport.com, your daily aggregated news site, worldviewreport.com. What I found is there is a connection between the fall port and the United Arab Emirates. They're entering into agreements together, and the United Arab Emirates is into IMEC. So the UAE is also working with Al Fall Port in Iraq, which includes obviously Babylon, and we believe in a revived Roman Empire and a rebuilt Babylon as a commercial enterprise, according to Revelation 17 and 18. Speak to that, please.
You're right. When we look at the UAE at this point, remember their head of security and the UAE, the so-called spy sheik, invested $500 million into Trump's financial company, World Liberty Financial. He bought a 49% interest in that company all of a sudden. Basically, Trump is joined at the hip with the UAE at this point in his own tokenization company. And to see them pursuing at this point this partnership with Iraq especially, obviously is going to connect them to IMEC, because the UAE has already said this. We're betting on this trade corridor to make us all filthy, stinking rich. And you can't make this stuff up. Yes, they're gonna do it. And whatever Iraq wants to do on shipping trade north from that port by rail, by truck, and whatever, they can do whatever they want at that point. Obviously, that there'll be more fallout than just Babylon. Mm-hmm. But first, they have to connect it to the most major trade route in the world. It's just a few hundred miles south of them at this point, and that would just be outside of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're set free at that point. Mm. So, it makes perfect sense to me that the UAE would want to do this. What's China doing at this point? China is just, there's nothing they can do unless they want to conquer the world, perhaps, if they blow everything up. I don't think China wants to do that. But China is seeing its whole initiative, the Belt and Road Project, is still still out there. Their investments are still there. But at this point, nobody's going to care about that, because this is where the major trade is going to take place. And this is not just about ships going along the ocean. This is a corridor. A corridor is something made different than just a trade route where ships go, where railroads go. A corridor implies all of these other services as well, like the pipelines, multiple pipelines, by the way, going from India to Europe. All of their needs will be met for oil, natural gas, helium, hydrogen. All of that can be transported along this corridor. Then you have the fiber optic angle. Who needs all of these trunk lines with these bundles of fiber optic cables? They're gonna lay them under the sea. They're going to bury them on the ground. They're going to put them underneath the railroad tracks. They're going to be ubiquitous at that point. And why do they need that? Well, they're building these data centers, AI data centers all over the place. This is going to be the hub of not just financial control of the world, but the governance layer as well.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong here. There's no government. They don't need government. That's where people discuss things, right? They need governance. That's AI. That's how AI could take over and basically run everything in society and make it all work, including the trade.
And of course, your revived Roman Empire can be your treaties. That can be your agreements or treaties, your military. That can be the formal so-called governance structure, the revived Roman Empire. And then Babylon is really your financial and commercial hub, which is why I say there are really two dimensions of one final global system. Here's a Saudi press, okay? I showed it while you were speaking. UAE's Abu Dhabi Ports Group to develop Iraq's Al-Fal Grand Port and economic zone, boosting global trade and maritime industry. Iraq's maritime industry is set to grow with a new deal between the Iraqi government and Abu Dhabi Ports Group of the United Arab Emirates. Now, we know they're in with IMEC. So you can see how that as you were saying, what's been developed over in, and we've been watching now for a few years with the Al-Fal Port could be easily put together with what's going on with what IMEC is building. Now, I want to go to here's another article I found this morning. The Middle East Insider, Gulf banking mergers. How mega deals are reshaping the region's financial landscape. This is from January 25th, 2026. So we got these banks that are merging now. Here's another headline, the Middle East Insider. Saudi Arabia, this one's March 22nd, 2026. So this was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia, 2.7 billion AI data center. The Hexagon deal and PIF's tech pivot. Saudi Arabia's public interest fund has raised a $2.7 billion contract with Hexagon for a 480 megawatt AI compute facility in Riyadh. Even as PIF's total construction budget was slashed from $71 billion in 2024 to $30 billion in 2025, a 58% cut, the message is clear. Mega projects are scaling. Again, if you're going to build world government in the Middle East, and you're going to have all the merchants of the world trading there and becoming wealthy there, and people say, well, where are you getting that from, Brandon? Well, we're getting that from Revelation 17 and 18, if I can find my PowerPoint slide again. And again, for the people that are regular viewers, I'm not trying to just keep repeating the same information, but we've really got to teach this. This is all brand new to a lot of people. But look at this. Revelation 18 says that the Antichrist and his 10 world assistants, and these are the kings of the earth. Now, that could be the 10 kings that are the assistants, not to mention maybe other world leaders involved, but you know those 10 are involved as well. And Babylon becomes great, the city of Babylon, Babel, Iraq. And the merchants of the earth, right? And it goes on to talk about, prior to this, in that chapter, all that they're trading in. Incredible high-end manufacturing, goods, commodities. But the writer John spends a lot of time telling you in Revelation chapter 18, verses 15 through 19, it's about every shipmaster, all who travel by sea, the sailors, as many as trade on the sea. They became rich by her, rich. So much they called it the great city, Babylon. And then it says that the great city in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. So Revelation 18 is now starting to come to life more than ever more than ever since John wrote it, as far as this being an area that is being revitalized to become such a great world empire. But not only that, the headquarters for Antichrist, as described in Revelation 17 and 18, which becomes a dwelling place for demons, but also the center of financial and commercial data. Now, if you're going to do that, you're going to have a lot of AI, a lot of nodes, a lot of computer systems, a lot of fiber optics, et cetera, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. It's an exciting time that we live in. And that's all I can say. You know, we need to watch this very carefully as we go forward. And I'm sure there will be other pieces of the puzzle will come together for us. I can't say what at this point, but I anticipate we'll have new discoveries going forward.
Few more minutes with Patrick. Look at this. This is from that PDF I found when I Google searched it a few months ago. The Great Trust, from a demolished Iranian proxy to a prosperous Abrahamic ally. Now, isn't it interesting that they're talking about Gaza, yet they refer to it as a demolished Iranian proxy? We've talked a lot about Hamas, the PLO. But notice in their cover, they blame Iran. And who is it they're trying to deal with and get under control and have a regime change and settle the region? Iran. Who clearly do they see as the obstacle for everything they're doing? Whether it's Gaza or whether it's the Strait of Hormuz or it's the disruption of the Abrahamic Accords so that the Muslim nations that aren't, the Shia, they aren't the Shias. They're not out there with the 12th Imam. Into the world comes through chaos, Iranian eschatology, and Iran is blowing it for the other Muslim nations of which Trump's trying to make a deal with. And so isn't it interesting, in their own plan, they state, Patrick, that it's Iran. And then notice what it says here. This came out a few months ago. A thriving Gaza at the crossroads of a new Abrahamic architecture. Gaza is an Iranian outpost in a moderate port of the region that will threaten IMEC and Abrahamic architecture. So they're making it perfectly clear, Patrick, that for all of this to work in Gaza, for IMEC, Gaza, for the Abrahamic Accords, they've got to deal with Iran. And what are they doing right now, Patrick? They're dealing with Iran. Closing comment?
Pounding them. Yeah.
Closing comment?
Pounding them into dust.
Closing
they will yield. They will yield, or they will be destroyed. That's the only two choices.
There are only two choices.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep tracking this. You know that. At technocracy.news, we're sharing data and research back and forth. We're on this. We're not letting off of it.
No.
And we're happy to have people take what we share with you guys and spread it around, making it available to everybody. It's bringing the Bible to life, that's for sure. Making me excited because I realize it kind of helps us see where we are on God's timetable. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to get out of here. How about you, Patrick?
You bet. Let's go.
Patrick Wood checking in. Thank you, Patrick. Technocracy.news. Technocracy.news. And remember, we have a big article on this that you can share with your family and friends, which includes a lot of these graphics at worldviewtimes.com right now, worldviewtimes.com. Hey, let me ask you before we go to a quick break and continue our broadcast tonight, do you appreciate what we're doing? Do you appreciate the time and effort in research and study and building maps? We built a lot of these maps ourselves. Those are our exclusive maps you've been looking at. Like this one right here. We built the one for the map, the Belt and Road Initiative. We've built these graphics ourselves. I'll show you a few more real quick that are ours. That one we built. Let's see. We built this one. That's us. So we built a lot of maps the last few days. We built that one. So we spent a lot of time doing show prep and research. And then, of course, we bring the Bible to bear. So if you appreciate what we're doing, folks, and that we're pushing it all out for free, now more than ever, will you support what we're doing? Even if you can only do $10 a month, $20 a month. Yes, it makes a big difference. People think, a network like Worldview Tube, they're not going to miss $10 a month or $20 a month from me. It's not enough to make a difference. Oh, but it is. Because guess what? Most of our donors are small dollar donors. Do you know that? Most of our donors are small dollar donors. They are $10, $20, $50 donors a month. That's it. That's traditionally how this network and ministry of our foundation has gone forth. So please do not discount $10, $20 a month. If you can do 10, great. If you can do 20, 25, great. Whatever you can do. If you can do more, wonderful. But there are a lot of you sitting on the sidelines saying, I can support him $10, $20 a month, but it's not going to make a difference, so why worry? And I'm trying to tell you, if all of our $10 and $20 donors walked away, I don't even want to think about how we'd have to go forward. It would be very, very difficult. because that's the bulk of our donors, is $10 and $20 a month donors. So please consider now worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com, and you will find our mailing address there as well if you prefer to support us through the mail. All right, we'll be right back. Thank you.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
Joining me now is Anni Cyrus. A big day today, folks. Anni's new book is out, The Architecture of Jihad, Inside the Ideological Law and Global Strategy, Driving Islam's Multi-Front Expansion. The book is out today, and it's already setting some historical markers. Anni, welcome. Thanks for being with us. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Brannon. Thank you for having me on.
And tell me what happened today. The book got #1 where? In what? What category?
So we are #1 on new release across Amazon. And then we're also #6 on top 10 books across Amazon on history of Islam.
Good. And it's just day one.
Yes. Well, it was a concern because I released it over the weekend. And a lot of friends were concerned that releasing on Saturday is a bad idea. I was like, well, let's just trust the timing. And yes, technically by being on air and being on your show, of course, as first interview, it is day one.
Good. Excellent. All right. So if people order the book, how many pages is it? #1.
The book is about 248 pages. That is not including the notes and the glossary of terms and all of that. It's about 248. It's a good. But here's the most beautiful part of this book. Each chapter by itself is a book. Each one can be separately read. You can put down the book, go on with your life with at least 10 call to actions to apply for a whole month to reverse the effect of jihad in your neighborhood, in your legislation, in your area, and then come back and study the next chapter.
Okay.
So it's not one of those books where you have to read the whole thing at one take to learn anything from it. No, it's each chapter, which the longest chapter is about 15 pages. So.
Good. And it's been endorsed by Trevor Loudon, Alex Newman, Dan Greenfield, Andy Woods, Jamie Glozoff, Michael Lauer, Michael Finch, Brandon House. We've all endorsed this great book. It's available now, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.com. The Architecture of Jihad is not a book about terrorism, headlines, or isolated acts of violence. It is a forensic examination of an ideology and an operational system that functions across multiple fronts, legal, financial, political, demographic, and cultural, to undermine free societies from within. Using Islam's own primary texts, including the Quran, Hadith, and classic Islamic jurisprudence, along the historical record and modern case studies, Anni Cyrus documents how jihad operates as a coordinated strategy rather than a series of disconnected events. Excellent. All right. Hope you guys will order it. Anni, you can get the book, right, at Amazon or liveuptofreedom.com, right?
Yes, liveuptofreedom.com is where, if you want to get signed copies inside US only, you got to go to my website and there will be an extra shipping charge. But if you just want the Kindle version or the paperback globally, go to Amazon. Whatever your country is. Okay. I by the way, I didn't know until 2 days ago that it's Amazon whatever your country is. I thought it's Amazon.com everywhere.
I didn't know that till right now, so that's interesting. Well, congratulations. All right, now let's go to a video. This is, I think this is Dan Cohen, who I follow on X. Listen to what he has to say about what Iran did over the weekend. Listen.
some of the top leaders in the Islamic Republic government have been lying.
They can reach now with these ballistic missiles everywhere in Europe, almost everywhere in Europe. I've been warning that for years.
They said that Iran had capped its own missile range, the ballistic missiles that they're firing into Israel. They said, we don't have anything that will travel further than 2,000 kilometers. Total lie. Iran fired at Diego Garcia, the UK, a U.S. military base in the Indian Ocean. Here is what Israel has been saying, and here's what the Trump administration has been saying. Are you on the edge of your seat? The missiles that Iran fired at Diego Garcia, 4,000 kilometers from Iran. Major European cities are now within striking distance of the Islamic Republic. Berlin, Paris, Rome. Iran already announced in their own state media, this was November, that they have a Karamshar 5 missile. That's it right there, in development. What's the range on that missile? 12,000 kilometers. Again, New York City is about 10,000 kilometers from Tehran. Washington, D.C., about 10,000 kilometers from Iran. Did you hear what I just said? Iran is still developing missiles that can hit the United States of America.
Well, there you go. Now, that's
what is his name?
Daniel Cohen.
Okay. Can I do a quick line of insert for Dan and his audience?
Sure.
Dan, have you been listening to Brown House Live? On Brown House Live, in September, October of 2022, we came out and reported that they have already reached the 4,000.
Yep.
That was in 2022. Dan, you should start tuning into Brown House Live. We break these news way ahead of everybody else. And I mean, apparently 3 years ahead of everybody else. Sorry.
Well, I'm glad you did that because I didn't want to say we told you so. I get tired of doing that at times. So thank you for doing it. But here's the other issue. Why are these people in Europe and other people so scared by this all of a sudden? Okay, so they can do that, yes, but they can also just bring a cargo ship off the coast of any of these countries, and they've already shown us. We have a video where an IRGC guy is showing a missile launcher on a cargo ship and bragging about it. They wanted it released. That was a good 3+4 years ago. And he was bragging about it. We said, why is an IRGC guy out there showing this? Do you remember that video? Do you remember that video, Annie?
Yes, of course I do.
And
we even played some of those slides at your Worldview event, the annual event you do that year, 2022. We showed those slides during my speech.
And they wanted the world to know, hey, we can strike any of you with a camouflaged cargo ship, basically. We'll use the cargo ships as camouflage to get off your coast and strike you, and you'll never know when or where we're coming. Okay, so they have missiles that can go thousands of miles. Great. Like Annie said, we've been telling them that. But they all act bothered now. Well, why were they not bothered when they could just shoot you right off their coast, off of our coast or Europe? I mean, I don't understand these people. But they gave President Trump a real gift this weekend when they did that. They gave him a gift. You know why I'm saying that, right?
I don't know. Are you saying gave a gift for him to be able to not finish the job?
No, well, let's hope he finishes the job. But they gave him a gift by showing, which is what people are saying on social media. See, Trump was right. Trump was right. Trump was right. Trump was right.
Oh, the imminent danger.
All weekend long on social media. They gave him a gift by doing this now. And they apparently have scared Piers Morgan and all these other guys. Are like, oh, we can get hit now in Europe. We don't have any defense for this. But I'll tell you something, Annie. I just got done. I don't know if you watched my Bible study last night on Daniel 2, showed all the things going on. I'm excited, okay? I'm more jazzed and excited right now in the last 48 to 72 hours than I have been in a while. I have to tell you, this job that we do here, you know it, we sludge on day in, day out, day in, day out. Pretty horrific stuff we have to report, pretty horrible stuff we have to report. Gets a little tiring, a little depressing. But I'll tell you, this is when I'm like, I'm so glad I'm still doing this because I'm jazzed. Because as I just said to Patrick Wood a while ago, I don't have to agree with the rebuilding of the third temple in Jerusalem. I don't need a temple. We're the temple of the living God. But I know the Bible says there's going to be a third temple, a tribulation temple, which means you're going to have a temple. Well, that tells me where we're at on God's calendar. When I see all these nations working together to rebuild a revived Roman Empire and make the Middle East this amazing area of incredible wealth, and Babylon, a rebuilt Babylon with incredible wealth, making people of the world wealthy as described in Revelation 17 and 18, I get excited because I'm like, this is what I've been studying my whole life. My parents were dragging me to Bible prophecy conferences in the 70s as an elementary student. I've been hearing about this since the 70s. I got taken to the theaters to see the late, great Planet Earth. Logan, pull up the trailer, will you, for that? The late, great Planet Earth. And tell me again what year that came out. I'm guessing 76, 77, somewhere in there. I was being dragged to the theater to see the late, great Planet Earth when I was in elementary school by 1970? No, that was the book, the movie. The book, I bet the movie didn't come out till, I'm going to guess, 77, 78. Just guessing. No, the documentary drama. No, they're wrong. 78. 78? Yeah, no, yeah, it's 1978. So I was born in 69. So I'd have been what, Logan, 9 years old? So I'd go to the theater at 9, watch The Late Great Planet Earth by Hal Lindsey. My parents dragging me to this stuff to hear these people. And then I'm in this line of work with a reporter on the ground in Israel, working with an Iranian Christian named Anni Cyrus, working with an Egyptian who speaks Arabic and knows the Quran by memory, Usama Dakdok, working with an Iranian, Shahram Hadian, working with an Iranian of descent, Hadiya Miramani. I mean, you can't write a script for someone's life like what I've had the privilege of living. And I can take no credit. I'm thankful my parents dragged me to this kind of stuff and had me around this kind of thing and was raised in the DC area for 8 years. And then God to providentially open the doors. And now, after knowing people like John Whitcomb and Jimmy D. Young and all these guys from that era, hey, here we are with our network at the apex of our growth after doing this for 36 years, just day in, day out, the struggle to build and to grow and to maintain. And here we are in 2026 now at our apex right now. We're hitting record numbers on radio and television, the guys in the control room were saying. Every week they say, well, today's numbers were bigger than last week's. Every week we're hitting bigger numbers. I'm not bragging, folks. What I'm saying is we are at a providential time of God's doing to build the team that we have around us, and the history I have as a child being taught this in the 70s when I was 9. And now I'm sitting here as a newscaster being watched around the world with a broadcast partner and reporter on the ground in Israel. You can't make this up. From my perspective, I'm sitting going, how did this happen? And I'm jazzed right now, Annie, because I'm realizing that we have the chance, whether we agree or disagree, we are watching the stage being set for the things to come about that the Bible said was going to happen. And I don't have to agree with them to be excited about it because it tells me where we're at. And then I get the chance to sit here and explain it from a biblical, prophetic, eschatological standpoint, which should cause people to not only be excited about the return of the Lord, but it should give them passion to be sharing their faith with people. What are your thoughts on what I've been sharing?
Let me double down on that. You know what I was doing when I was 9? I was learning how to be an adult woman.
You were learning how to be an adult woman?
At age 9, I became an adult woman, remember? Under Islam.
Are you telling me that was how old you were and your dad sold you was 9?
No. I was 13 when he sold me, but I was 9 when the country announced me an adult woman.
Oh,
I was learning my prayer, my hijab. My first arrest after age 9, I faced court as an adult and punishment as an adult.
And how old were you then?
The first arrest, 10.
Okay, so I'm 9 going to see the late great Planet Earth in Fairfax, Virginia, outside of DC, and you're a lot younger than I am. You're 9 and you're considered an adult woman, and by, did you say age 10 you're being arrested?
My first arrest was age 10, yes.
Why? What'd you do?
The first arrest at 10 was myself and 2 other family members, girls. We were walking down our own street, and some of the boys from our neighborhood were playing soccer in the street. We stood by, watched, laughed, talked, and immorality police passed by, asked what's our relation. We said we're neighbors. They dumped all of us back of the truck, took us to morality detention center, called our parents to come and verify that we're just neighbors. And though they did verify, we all had to sign they call it promise letter or guarantee that we will never hang out after dark in our own streets with distance. We'll never hang out again because, well, we were girls, they were boys, and that's not allowed. That was my first experience of being arrested as an adult 10-year-old woman because we were just literally just laughing and talking on the street, but it was dark, so it wasn't allowed. Though our parents allowed us to go and do it, the government in Sharia didn't. So that was my very first experience where I was picked up, put in handcuffs, dumped behind a morality police van, taken into detention until, well, my mom showed up, but everybody in the neighborhood, like literally the whole neighborhood were at the detention center getting their kids out.
And just think about your background, my background, Sharam,
that's
Hadiya's,
where I was going to dabble down.
Usama's in Egypt, where his daddy was planting churches, you know, that were being burned down by Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas. And now the Lord has us all working together on the same team here in the U.S.
Exactly.
That's
where I said, let me dabble down because, you know, you have all these different backgrounds. And I can tell you, each one of us telling what we were doing at 9, none of us were doing the same thing. But we had one thing in common, and that was that Lord had a plan for us. And that plan required all of us to be aligned sooner or later, from 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 2 months ago, to become partners in understanding today's events through biblical worldview.
Yep. I mean, just think about it. At some point in my life, as a very young person, I would have to say, oh, yeah, there's a little gal in Iran who one day I'll be working with. Oh, yeah, there's a young guy in Australia. Is he from Australia or New Zealand? Talking about Aaron. He's New Zealand. There's a young guy in New Zealand who will eventually go over to Israel, who's a Jew, become a Christian, and work. You know, you think about this. When you're in elementary school or junior high or high school, you know, if you were to know that all of these people were in other parts of the world having their life experiences and how unique they are in and of themselves, but that one day you guys would all end up working together. If you saw this unfolding in your mind, the Lord allowed you to see this in your mind when you were, say, in junior high or high school and said, this is the path you're going to go. You wouldn't believe it. You would say, that's just not. And yet, you know, and I think that's what the Bible speaks about. The Bible speaks about those of us who are Christians can live a life that is beyond what we can even imagine, right? Live a life that is filled with amazing and abundant spiritual adventures.
Yes, and let me repeat. I said this on my show last week. Let me repeat one of the things you sometimes use to introduce me, which I greatly love. Only in America, where there is a freedom of religion. Remember, this isn't about American freedoms. This is about specifically freedom of religion, where I was allowed to come to Christ openly and then find people who could teach me, like Brennan, about my faith. But only in America can an Iranian girl, broken and shattered, make her way to America, become an atheist, start as a dishwasher at McDonald's, work my hair up to loving freedoms through that loving America, through that finding Christ, through that building a network with people like Brennan, Yosama, Sharam, Hediye, Jamie Glazoff, Daniel Greenfield, Robert Spencer, to where she can sit here for the first time and say, my name is Anni Cyrus. I'm an Iranian-American journalist and an author of The Architecture of Jihad. Name one person with my circumstances from any other country, Brennan.
Fascinating. Absolutely. Let me go to a trailer. Do we have it yet, Logan? I want to go to the trailer of the late, great Planet Earth that was in the theaters when I was 9 years old. Just to kind of get, again, a lot of you guys know, you've seen it, you watched it, but look at how excited people were in 1978. The book had been out for quite some time, and that it was made into a movie, and that it was in the theaters. People were quite excited because they felt like the stage was set for so much Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. And it was to a degree. But look at how much further we're down the road now, folks, from 1978. Okay? That's why I get pretty excited, because I think those folks thought in 78 we were close. You couldn't even comprehend in 78 what we're talking about in 2026 with IMEC and the all-fall port in Iraq. But look at this in 1978. Here we go.
Man is faced by unprecedented perils that threaten to send him crashing into the dark abyss of silence known as extinction.
Man stands on the brink of destruction. But could it be that man's ultimate fate has been known for over 2,000 years?
This was a false prophet some 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Why did they stone him?
Then as now, man believed himself too sophisticated for prophecies. But now prophetic patterns exist that cannot be ignored, cannot be forgotten. The late great planet Earth, featuring Orson Welles. The incredible best-selling book by Hal Lindsey is now a motion picture that dares to explore the terrifying meanings of the ancient prophecies. Dares to face the chain of events predicting the end of our planet.
I'm speaking to you today from the last battlefield on planet Earth. It's out here that the last stages of history as we know it will be decided.
Let all the men of the war draw near. Let them come up. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision.
When the book of Revelation warned that 200 million men would decide the fate of our planet, is it only coincidence that Red China today has an army exactly that size? The prophecies speak of the coming of an Antichrist. Is he among us already?
Many people think that because this man's called the Antichrist that he'll appear to be evil. But Satan's no fool.
Is the computer his weapon? What is the prophetic clue to his identity?
Let him who hath understanding calculate the number of the beast. For the number is that of a man, and the number is 666.
The increasing frequency of earthquakes and floods, dramatic changes in weather patterns, all predicted centuries ago.
Scientists are now warning us of terrible dangers from outer space in 1982. In that year, Jupiter and all the other planets will be aligned on the same side of the sun.
The late great planet Earth. It will take your mind further than it has ever dared to before. Is it all coincidence? Or has the final countdown begun?
Is our planet truly in mortal peril?
Have 70% of the key predictions fallen into place already?
Whether it's 5 minutes to midnight or whether it's 10 minutes to midnight is debatable.
What is it that gives us the idea that our time on Earth is infinite and without end?
See The Late Great Planet Earth, featuring Orson Welles. It may change your life forever.
1978, punch cards on their computers, folks. Now, they had no idea about what we today call artificial intelligence, which is not artificial and it's not intelligent, but that's what they call it. They were worried about the Cold War, the Soviet Union, nuclear war, and now look at how much Islam has marched around the globe and struck America at home, not only with the original bombing of the World Trade Center in 93, but then, of course, September 11th, 2001. And a man rising by the name of Donald Trump become president twice, one term apart. And that you see the Middle East as it is today, and the Abraham Accords, and now IMEC, and the fall port. We can only work with the information we have. 1978, they felt like they had quite a bit of information. Now we realize today, what's today, March 23rd, this evening, 2026? Look at how far we've come. And now there's the talk of rebuilding a third temple. All the instruments are ready. The choir has been trained. We have video of them singing. They have 5 red heifers in Israel, 4 now. They've sacrificed 1. I mean, you can't make this up, the convergence of events. This is quite fascinating. Annie, you watched, I'm sure, the presentation. I sent it to you last night to watch. What were your thoughts as I was laying out this map? This is a unique map to us that we built over the weekend. And IMEC, and then we have, of course, the fall port in Iraq. They're laying roads, railroads, as well as highways, computer hubs, AI data centers, fiber. What they have to get a hold of is the Strait of Hormuz. They've got, and the thing that is stopping it, when you look at even the plan put out by Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and that team related to Gaza that we showed earlier tonight and last night, they're admitting the big problem is Iran. That Gaza was a bunch of proxies for Iran. They're mentioning IMEC. They're mentioning Abraham Accords. They've got to get Iran under control, or all of this is for naught. Speak to what you saw last night that I laid out from Daniel chapter 2 and where we are today.
Well, before let's just, from today, one more piece added to everything else is if anybody heard President Trump at the airport as answering questions to reporters about his statement of we're in talks with Iran. What he said and what he didn't say says that he might have already resolved that problem because he has picked a leader of his own choosing. He's talking to that leader whom he thinks is the most respected man who could be the leader in Iran. And he's not naming him, but Iranians, we pretty much have a very good understanding of who he's referring to. Point is, he is solving that problem, apparently. He picked a leader from the Islamic movement, by the way. It's just anybody who thinks this might be a different person from inside, and he might resolve that problem. Which then, if he does, it just adds to everything that you've been going through. Yes, Ghalibaf. There you go.
Is that him?
I don't know how you. Yep, that's the man.
What were you about to say? You don't know what?
I said I don't know who guessed that and played it.
I just did. I just sat here and did it.
Yes, that is the man. But Joe, clearly, Ghalibaf immediately comes out saying, I'm not talking to them. I'm not talking to them. Like, no kidding. We weren't expecting you to come out and say, I am, because immediately IRGC is going to kill you. However, Ghalibaf is the category of same as Mousavi's and rest of them. Point being, if this is the case, what you've been laying out, not just last night, I've been very... to be honest, I have never studied the book of Daniel. I've read it, but never studied. So the entire series since you started, it's pretty fascinating. But yes, it just shows that every piece is falling in place, isn't it? But can I ask you a question, Brennan? Because it's my question, and I know a few other people have asked. Does this necessarily mean it's all going to happen during our lifetime? Just because the pieces of puzzle are falling into place?
Nope.
Or does it not?
No, it doesn't.
Do you mind elaborating on?
And that's why I wanted to show the trailer of the late great Planet Earth that came out in 1978, because the people then thought we were in the time was very close, that all the dots, all the pieces were lining up, the dots were connecting. And I think we should live like that for every generation, regardless. But that was the feeling in 1978 with the Cold War and nuclear weapons and whatnot. But look at where we are. We were, 1978. Here we are, 2026. So, that's a long time ago. And yet here we are. No, it could be another 30, 40 years, 50 years, 100 years. But I'll tell you this, we've never seen all the things lined up now like we have then. There are many countries that did not have military and economic agreements with each other in 1978 that do today. So could this go on another 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years? If the Lord wants it to, it will. But I'll tell you, we are so close in regards to the stage setting that I don't know how much more stage setting you can do. I mean, are you going to have 10, 15, 20 more years of stage setting? I suppose you could. But the Bible scholars and Bible prophecy guys I talk to, many of them never thought we would be here as the church to see this much, that the Lord would have already taken the church out. So if that gives you any indication for how close many of us think we are, yeah, I think we're super close. And of course, the question for me, Annie, is when does the Antichrist show up to finish what Donald Trump started? Does Donald Trump take the ball down the field and then an Antichrist? I mean, Donald Trump's 79 years old. He's going to be 80 soon, right, guys? When's he turn 80? Does anyone know? We'll look it up. But at some point, Donald Trump is not going to be here. Maybe he'll live to be, he'll be 80 in June. So whether his term runs out, but if his term runs out, he lives through his term, which we pray he does, but he goes on to the Middle East to be the chairman of the Gaza board indefinitely. The question is, how far down the road does Donald Trump take this before a global leader known as Antichrist shows up to finish the deal? And we know from Daniel 7, as I've already said tonight, he has to rip 3 leaders out by the roots to get 3 more in there to make his 10 who go along with him. So yeah, this could drag out more, but I just can't believe we're sitting here reporting on this stuff as fast as it's happening. And that's another thing I would make a point of. Look how fast it's happening now. We didn't see the events from 1978 going this fast like we do today. And I think that's
I'm sorry,
indicative
the
of Bible prophecy.
The 78 you're referring to is the movie.
That's when the movie hit the theaters. Yep.
It's because, 1978 has another huge.
Well, the revolution in Iran didn't happen until the next year, 79, right?
Technically, the hijack of it, the red-green axis hijack was 78.
Well, there you go.
They completed it in February of 79, but I believe it was about early July of 78 when Khomeini showed up suddenly, went from Iraq to France, became the leader of the revolution, and then they completed in 79. But yes, it was in 78 also because I still think Islam plays a huge role in all of this.
100%.
And I think the 78 hijack and the 79 success of this revolution also played a huge role in all of it. So the timing is kind of, again, very curious there, isn't it?
Isn't it? But it also shows you that in 78, people thinking, whoa, things are close. And we had not even seen the entrance of Iran onto the world stage with the Ayatollah yet.
Exactly.
So I don't want to look back 10, 15, 20 years from now and watch this program and say, yeah, we're still here. And maybe we will be. But I sure will be shocked because of how fast things are now moving. But if you think things are moving fast now, wait till the unfolding of Revelation in reality. Right now, it's a book talking about the future after you get past chapter 3. So chapter 4 is into the future. Once you get there, the Bible says when these things begin to happen, they're going to happen very fast. If we think they're happening fast now, we ain't seen nothing yet. But to me, absolutely fascinating what's going on. And that this team, I'll reiterate, that this team at this time is all working together, that all of us and our various life experiences and training and background and history and heritage have come to where we are now, all of us being believers and all of us working together. Only God could do this. Now, I want to go to a clip and see
Before
your thoughts.
Before you go to a clip, I don't know why I did it. No, I do know why. I just sent you and Logan an email with 2 pictures in it. We've never shown these pictures on your show because probably we never actually dug into when I was 9 years old. But if anybody likes to see proof.
Oh, I've seen this picture. I've shown this somewhere. I don't know where I've seen this picture, but I've seen this.
You've seen it on my presentation when I was there for, I think, the siege. That's the one I'm in. But yeah, you see what I'm holding there to your audience? That was
that?
my act. That is my legal certification that I'm an adult woman now. You see there? Yeah, that was it. That's why, because I know so many people can't comprehend that such a thing exists. It does. You are legally. It's not that your mom did it, your dad did it, your school did it, your district did it. No, this is legally announced. That's it. You're
and of course, at 9, you're legally adult. That's the age of which Muhammad started having sexual relations with Aisha, right?
Yes, he consummated his marriage to Aisha after 3 years of officially marrying her. But at age 9, the marriage was consummated by Muhammad. Yes.
And that's you with your father.
Right. That is the sheikh. Yep, right there.
He was a sheikh.
Yes.
How wealthy was he for his time as a sheikh?
He was as broke as my current situation. He was not wealthy at all.
How did he become a sheikh without acquiring any financial wherewithal?
You don't need money to become sheikh. That's one thing I will say. They do tell you the truth. In Islamic ranking, the higher your rank, the less you are supposed to require money or get money. It's the knowledge and the commitment. It's the devotion. Are you willing to devote all of it, including your 13-year-old daughter, to it? That's the rank, not the money. And also add to it, of course, he would receive, just like he received for me, the lesser portion was cash, the higher portion was his own opium usage. He was very much, as long as I remember, he was addicted to opium. So he preferred opium as payment rather than cash. So normally he didn't have much money.
Very interesting. Again, folks, all the experiences that have come together to bring this team where we are now. Let me go to a clip. I saw it over the weekend. I thought of you immediately. Here is an advisor to Prince Pahlavi. I'm sure you saw this on Fox over the weekend. Here we go.
The rest of Europe, President Biden, President Obama has basically Chamberlained the Islamic regime. They have been the Neville Chamberlain of our modern times. They have coddled this regime. They have given them hundreds of billions of dollars. 10/7, the 9/11 Israel happened because of the billions of dollars that Biden, Kamala, and Obama gave to this terrorist regime that just 2 months ago massacred 43,000 Iranians who were defenseless, asking for their freedom, asking and calling on Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi to return and bring a democracy to Iran. And return, basically calling on and responding to President Trump's very courageous message of saying, we have your backs, come in the streets. Well, these are biblical times that we're witnessing.
Wow. What do you make of that, Annie?
Yes. Actually, as you know, we are working on booking Mr. Peshawar on your program as soon as possible. But one of the things I've been doing on my show, Brandon, is I'm showing a lot of Iranian Christians and their messages and their prayers. And because, as you know, you say Iran, Iranians, everybody thinks Islamic country and Muslims. No, we're not. And now I would say probably by majority inside and outside of Iran, we're Christians. I can prove that. Iranians inside Iran, outside Iran, majority are following Christ. But yes, that was a conversation that started inside the circle of Crown Reza Pahlavi and the movement he put together. I shouldn't say the seats he put together 2 weeks ago of, depending on who else gets involved, this very well could be what we're watching as prophecy unfolding in front of us. I rely on your information more. No disrespect. Shervin is amazing. So are the rest of the people in that seats, but they're looking at it the same way in a different way. More of what me and Shahram and Hediye think of, the verse about Elam in Iran. That's more of what they're looking at.
I think that's during the Millennial Kingdom.
Right. That was the thing. I think
Jeremiah 49, I think it is, right?
Yes, Jeremiah 49. So that's what they mostly, when you hear it from that side, that's what we refer to. But either way, it's, it is, you can argue the biblical aspect of what's happening, Brennan. I mean, you can, many do. Again, today I produced a show that absolutely, twisted all of it. Did my face explain the show? But, I've seen memes like, oh, when I was 30 years old, my whole thing was, let's go buy a house. Nowadays, the 30-year-olds are just looking at prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. Yes. I mean, I'm 42, but I'm still doing it. You can argue it, but honestly, you can't deny it. You can't. You have a man who steals the entire nation's heart on a split equal of hate or love, referring to Trump in 2016. Gains a lot of trust, loses, comes back, and we watch all of this. I mean, you can't, as you say, you can't write this a script. You can't make this up. You can't deny it. Feel free to argue it. We do that as humans. Like, I have a headache and I ignore it because it's going to go away if I pretend like it's not there. That's what humans are doing. You're pretending it's not there, but it is.
But isn't that what Daniel 2, the whole point of Daniel 2 is that God is the one that raises up leaders. God raises them up, he brings them down. He raises them up, he brings them down. And that's Daniel 2. That is the whole, God is in control. There's no authority under heaven of which God did not allow to happen. Doesn't mean he agrees with it, but he uses sinful, fallen man to accomplish his purpose, which is why we as Christians believe that and love that verse, Romans 8, that all things will work together for good to those of us who love God and are called according to his purpose. So Daniel 2 is about God raising up leaders. God allowed Donald Trump to lose. It wasn't the right time for Donald Trump to move forward. He needed that 4 years in there, apparently. And now he comes back in 2025, January of 2025, 4 years in between each term. And now God apparently is allowing these things to happen. He stepped back and allowing it to happen. We see that with Joseph's brothers, right? God didn't cause Joseph's brothers to do that. God just stepped back and let his brothers do what was already in their heart and to be jealous of him because of his father's love for him. And so they took him and they threw him in a pit, and he gets sold into slavery, and he ends up in Egypt, and he ends up in the Pharaoh's court, and he's able to save his own family and people because God providentially had him where he needed him to be, because God providentially moved even with the sinful choices of man to accomplish his ultimate purpose. And how much of that happens in our life, Annie? How many times can you talk about the evil things that have God allowed to happen to you, the bad things God allowed to happen to you, the people you maybe even had to work with, or the people who you worked with who then cheated you or mistreated you? But all it did was push you to another direction that you would have never gotten to if that bad and unfortunate thing hadn't have happened. And you and I know each other well enough to know that we each have our own stories where some person's lying to us, not being honest with us, being two-faced with us, or cheating us. If it didn't happen, we wouldn't be where we are today. And when we didn't like going through it at the time, we look back and we go, wow, I'm really glad that happened, because of those things, it's like a pinball machine bouncing off the bumpers in a pinball. You need those bumpers that you run into to throw you a different direction, because otherwise you'd stay on that course, and you're not necessarily on the course that God wants you on. Or maybe you need those hard times to cause you to not keep thinking that your success or abilities is because of you. So you get a little humbled here and there, you get trials here and there, and you become a little more patient, a little more understanding. And you also come to a spot where you're like, I didn't do any of this. I mean, I was going this spot and that spot, and this bad thing happened, and then all of a sudden God takes the whole thing and works it out to where I'm here today, and I have no idea how I got here, because of all these things that happened. So therefore, these steps, some of them good, some of them bad, led me where I am today. Now you can't sit here and be arrogant about any of it, because you couldn't have done this. This obviously had to be orchestrated of God. And I think that's in part why God allows these things to happen to us, so that when we finally get where he wants us to be, we are more able to be used because we're not thinking we did it, we accomplished it. So you have stories like that in your life. I know I do. I know some of yours, you know some of mine, where these people have not been honest. They weren't straightforward. They lied to us. They cheated us. Didn't like it at the time, but glad it happened because it got us to where we are today, right?
Absolutely. And as my grandma always said, if there was...
No, wait a minute. Get ready to write this down.
Gotta get the pen.
Whenever she says, well, my grandma used to say, you get ready. Here we go.
Yeah, she always said, if there was no winter, you wouldn't understand birth. If it wasn't for a spring, you wouldn't understand death.
Mm.
That's exactly how life is.
One of these days, you have to write a little book, what Grandma used to say, because she had a lot of them.
Well, let's sell enough of the first book so I have the time to write the second. The second one is going to be Grandma's Wisdom. But yes, she did have a lot of, and that's the thing. It's, as you said, yes, sometimes we have people put in our life that we don't know why, but they're not honest and, they're cheaters. But then sometimes, in my story, you're blessed with a grandmother who protects your child brain from the brainwash and the damages and the belief until you get to where Lord can show you the path. So we need to look at it both sides. Sometimes we're just like, well, I still do. So I'm like, why would I have, of all the family members that some didn't care, some were Sheikh, the dad. Why did I have this grandmother with such wisdom? And it was her mission. Today I look, I'm like, I was her entire mission. Get me to where I can see clearly was her mission. And that's Lord's blessings.
And she's the one that helped you get out of Iran to Turkey.
She's the one who not just helped me, but she also jeopardized possibly execution. If they could ever prove she is the one who paid for smugglers, that was it. Her life was over. I'm glad they couldn't. I'm glad even my dad bought her story of I just ran away middle of the night. But she took a huge risk to make sure I'm out. Yes.
So you're in America today because your grandmother in Iran paid for the smugglers to get you to Turkey, where you waited until you could come to the U.S.
Absolutely. And also for the fact that, again, she had so many one-liners that always carried me through life. But the last thing she told me is, you'll never forget where you come from. But if you ever come back, I kill you. You keep going. You have more chance that way than ever coming back this direction. With that being said, I never looked back. I just kept pushing wherever I was supposed to go. Mm. Yes, and for some of your audience who may not know, I have not been back to my motherland since that night. I haven't. Not because I don't want to. I couldn't even say goodbye to my grandmother when she died of natural causes. I couldn't go to her funeral. I had somebody send me a video of the funeral. Mm. For anyone who thinks, why am I so set on no matter how many bombs finish this regime? There are millions of us out here who lost loved ones, missed weddings and childbirth because we can't go back.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want this regime ended, and I wanted this regime ended, not as much as you, obviously, but I wanted this regime ended because we know how evil it is. We know what's been going on. And I even want it ended more now because I know this can sound really troubling maybe to some. I want Trump to be so successful with this IMEC thing. I want him to get this deal done. And I'm wearing my Bible prophecy hat right now, right? I'm wearing my Bible prophecy hat. So from a Bible prophecy perspective, I want Trump to deal with this regime, get control of the Strait of Hormuz. I don't care if Donald Trump runs it in charge of it or if it's a collaboration of people, as he said on the tarmac in Florida this morning. I want him to get rid of this regime, as we've all been wanting. But now I even want more, now that I understand IMEC and its ties to Gaza and its ties to the Abraham Accord, because the Bible tells me it looks like these things are what's going to happen. And I want to go ahead and get done with this thing. I'm ready for the Lord to call the church up. I'm ready to go on, because I was thinking over the weekend, think about this, Annie. This body will not live forever, right? Unless the Lord calls the church up and I'm involved in that rapture, I'm here at that time. If that's not the case, if I'm not alive at the time of the rapture, then this body will eventually be put in a coffin and put 6 feet underground. And I can take you to the actual sod where there's multiple generations back to the Civil War of names on the tombstone, HOWSE, from grandparents on both sides, my grandmother's side, my grandfather's side, my grandmother's side. I can show you all kinds of HOWSE family members in that family burial plot. And I can take you right to the sod that my father and mother have saved for our family. And I'll be 6 feet under that ground right there. But what won't be buried is what is here inside me, my soul. And I was thinking over the weekend, we oftentimes think about this life in this body and that, oh, it's temporal. And it is. But this weekend, I thought, my soul, which is who I am, and my mind will live forever. And so the very thing as a Christian that you have tonight, your mind, your soul, that thing that you already are, that is you, your soul, your spirit. That soul or spirit is going to live forever. And I was thinking this weekend, that's remarkable. That's hard to fathom in your mind, that the very essence of who I am, that includes my mind, is going to be forever. It's just like getting rid of a pair of clothes and your soul, your spirit. You just shed this body like a pair of clothes, but your soul and your mind keep going. And that soul and that mind is going to be involved in administrating for 1,000 years God's kingdom on earth. And as a Christian, as a believer, as part of the church, I'm going to have a role in that. And I don't know what that role will be, but whatever role I play in it is going to be based on how I lived here and now. My resume is being built, and the scriptures are clear about that. That what we're doing now is going to pay dividends in the Lord saying, I want you, Annie, to do this, this, and this, and this for me. You did all of these things. This was your resume. This was your job testing. This was your training. You did great. And therefore, you're responsible with these little things. I'm going to give you a responsibility in much. Now, you go and do that right now as my ambassador. And Brandon, you go and do this, this, and this. And we're going to look at each other and go, can you believe we just got appointed by the Lord, the King, to go do this? And I think you and I will have conversations like this. You and I and the rest of our team that are believers will have conversations and say, remember when we were there reporting on this stuff day in and day out? And now we're here? Can you believe we now are going from here to there at a moment's thought? Boom, boom. We're all over the planet. And we're doing something for the Lord that he's commissioned us to do. And we won't even be able to, just as we're blown away by what the Lord has allowed us to do in this life, kind of to a point where like, can you believe it's taken this long, but we're here at this time with all this going on in the world events, reporting on what we're reporting on, working with who we're working on, can hardly believe it. That's nothing compared to the conversations you and I and others are going to have during that 1,000-year millennial reign. We're going to talk about these days on earth and that we watched it happen and bring us to the point. That to me, when you think about it, I don't think as Christians we think like that enough, but you should. And when you do, it makes you excited to keep doing more of what we're called to do with the Great Commission here, because I realize if President Trump were to call tonight and I picked up the phone and he called and he said, Brandon, our administration has been monitoring what you're doing. I need you and your team in the Oval Office on Monday morning, 9 a.m., because I got a special job I need for you guys to do. I'm going to make you guys some special advisors to me because I've been watching what you've been doing. And I realize I need you and Annie and Hadia and other people's perspective. We would all show up and we would think, wow, the President of the United States has called us for his advice. That's nothing compared to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords calling us up. You can't even compare it. It's like having the janitor call you and ask you to go get a roll of toilet paper down the hall and bring it to him. Compared to what we're talking about, the Lord himself is going to call you up and tell you, I know who you are, and I know what you were doing, and I know your resume and your works, and therefore you go do this. And we're going to have our memory of everything that we were doing in this life that brought us to that spot. And I don't think people think about that. The man in hell had his memory, right? He had his memory in that parable, right? Let me go tell my brothers. Let me go tell my family. Don't come here. Let Lazarus come and put a drop of water on my tongue. He couldn't cross the chasm. But he had his memory. People in hell. I had a conversation with someone over the weekend. I said, I gave the gospel to a friend of mine who passed away. And he thanked me, but he said he was going to take his chances. And he died. And I said, you know what I think of often? Is he's likely not in heaven, but in hell. And he's thinking about that last conversation I had with him. And my friend said, you're 100% right. People have their memory in hell. And we both knew the story of Lazarus. Well, guess what? We will have our memory in heaven. We will have our memory during that 1,000-year millennial reign. And you think we're having a fun time talking about how we ended up here today, March 23rd, 2026? Wait till the conversations we have in the millennial kingdom about how we just kept persevering and going. And as a result, look at where God has appointed us now. I hope that encourages you, Annie, in your work and all you've been through. I hope it encourages the whole audience.
Oh, it definitely does encourage me every day. And that's why I think we're without knowing so, we're also going through training. And when I say we, let me be very specific. Christians like me, you, Usama, Hediya, Sharon, everybody that you named, because you, your network, and all of us in your network, we have always received the credit of you didn't change narrative, you're not bending, your tone hasn't changed, you're bringing truth. I had comments from your audience on Brown House Live writing me very kindly saying, if you say it, if Brandon say it, I know it's truth. Otherwise, I'm going to run it by you unless you confirm it. But there are other Christians out there who are not. They're not worried about what you just talked about. They're worried about today, the clicks and the sponsors and the followership and the fame and all of that. Just like somebody did it over the weekend with Candace Owen. They counted how many times Candace say me, I on a stage versus how many times she credited Lord for whatever she's talking about. It was, I think, something like over 300 times of her, 15 times saying Lord. That's the difference. We do what we do. We don't get arrogant. We don't walk around like we own the world. We always say, praise the Lord, my book is out. Praise the Lord, our numbers are up. We know who's giving us the opportunity and the blessings to get here. Many don't. And I think those won't get any appointments. I'm just saying.
And I agree with that. And I think we also know there's no way humanly possible. I'm not smart enough. I'm not administratively capable of organizing all that has come together. Physically, humanly impossible. I can administrate, but I can't administrate that well. There's no way humanly possible I could administrate these things to be as they are today. No, impossible. The fact that you and I even know each other was providentially done and organized through the Lord bringing Bill Haney into my life. And we could go on and on. So I think we're at a very special time. I think we're at a very interesting time. And I'm also hoping that President Trump is wildly successful with what he wants to do, not because I agree with the idea of a revived Roman Empire or a rebuilt Babylon that will end up being used by the Antichrist and his 10 world assistants, but because I am eager for these things to come to pass and get on with what the Lord has for us in that millennial kingdom and then in the kingdom that will be forever and ever. And I just am excited more than I have been in a while in my work the last 72 hours because I'm seeing some things to me biblically that show me, whoa, this is really big news. And the average person in America, much less the average Christian, has no understanding of what's unfolding in front of us. None.
Because it's not comfortable. That's why. There is a specific discomfort. Again, I'm not saying everyone, but humans, again, another saying that I say a lot, this one is actually mine, not my grandma's, like, stop saying life is short, you just leave once. No. You die once, you leave every day. Make every day count. Well, most people just think about that last minute, and thinking about that last minute, they haven't come to have the comfort of reaching that last minute. Therefore, they don't want to think about how fast they're getting to that last minute. Therefore, they don't think about it. They reject the knowledge that causes them to perish.
Well said. Here it is. It's out. Go get it. LiveUpToFreedom.com. Anni's brand new book, The Architecture of Jihad. Anni Cyrus. Available at LiveUpToFreedom.com or Amazon. Thank you, Anni.
No, thank you, Brandon. This was fascinating, encouraging, and I pretty much enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome. Glad you did. All right, guys, when we come back, let's talk about Donald Trump is in the house. It is the house of Elvis Presley. How many of you have ever been to Graceland? I've been a couple times. I had the opportunity to tour Graceland the first time with some of my mother grew up with from the time she was 4 years old, I think was when they first met. And they became fast friends all the way through high school. They're still friends today. And I got to know her. She was like an aunt to me. And when I was in the Memphis area around, I don't know, it had to be the late 90s, late 90s. She and I together went to Graceland. I don't know, my mother and Melissa and others didn't want to go. So Betty and I went to Graceland. And Betty had actually been given a tour when she was in like junior high or high school by Elvis himself of the house, because she had, I think she brought some strawberry preserves to the gate there at Graceland over and over with a friend of hers until she befriended one of his relatives. And he said, all right, you girls come back tonight. He's got a party at the pool, around the pool. I'll take you up there to meet him. So they showed up later that evening and hopped in the golf cart, she said, went on up to the house, went out to the back pool, met Elvis, and then he gave them a quick little tour of the house. Well, I went on the tour of the house with her, and she was telling me about, well, Elvis showed us this, and Elvis showed us that. We got downstairs to the TV room, and there's a yellow counter there with a sink behind it. And you're standing there looking at the various televisions he had on the wall, which was pretty cool for the time. And she said, yeah, we were down here and my friend asked for a glass of water, and he went around behind the counter right there and got our glass of water out of that sink. And some of the people on the tour heard her talking to me about this. And they're like, you've been in the house before with Elvis himself? The tour guide had a hard time getting everybody's attention because they only wanted to hear what Betty had to say in regards to Elvis Presley giving her a personal tour of the house. So I've been in the house. That was my first tour. Then I went back again. So I think I went in there sometime around the mid-90s. Then went back again. But Logan, have you been? Logan's been. Melissa, your mom's not been. I got to get her there. But President Trump went to the home of Elvis today. He's in the house. We're going to bring you some clips of that when we come back. Kind of fun. So President Trump was in the Mid-South. We're right here in the Mid-South, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and the commander-in-chief was here today. We'll show you some fun video footage right when we come back. Don't go away. We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com. All right, welcome back. Okay, so President Trump came to Memphis today and went to Graceland. By the way, he never met Elvis. He said he wished he had, but he'd never met Elvis. And I don't think he'd ever been to Graceland before, but he got a tour today. There you go. There's what a Trump would look like if he were kind of a blonde Elvis. What do you think of that, Logan? Yeah, I don't know. I'm a fan of Elvis, though. Aren't you, Logan? Are you lying to me? Are you really a fan of Elvis? Yeah, he likes Elvis. We like Elvis music. Do you like the younger Elvis or the 70s Vegas Elvis? You don't know the difference. Well, then I better teach you. You like Suspicious Minds? Yeah, that's 70s Elvis. All right, so he goes there. Let's take a look at some of this. Kind of fun if you've never been to Graceland. And if you have, it's even more fun because you know exactly what's going on here. This is kind of the house is not, it's a big house in some sense. In another sense, it's really not. It's close. It's tight in there. There's a lot of rooms, but because there's a lot of rooms and they're not big rooms, it doesn't take much before the foyer is full. It's not a big foyer. The living room's not huge, okay? So this house, again, is much smaller than you might think it is. And if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go.
We love Elvis. Who doesn't love Elvis? Everybody loves Elvis, right? Hello. How are you? Hi. How are you? Nice to see you.
Welcome to the second most visited president of America.
Wow, that's very good.
Your house is number one.
It's pretty good too, right?
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Second most visited house in the nation after the White House, right here in Memphis, folks. Elvis Presley's home. Now, normally when you go on the tour, you're not allowed in where they're standing. There's ropes there. You can look in, but you can't go into the living room, of which Elvis personally had designed. Don't get me started. I know far more about Elvis and Graceland than I probably should. But anyway, that's our first clip. Keep up with me, guys, because I'm going to move quick. Here we go. All right, here is Elvis in the kitchen. Again, you get to look in when you go on the tour. But when you're president, you actually get to go into the kitchen.
But he was just comfortable here. Right?
Yeah, this was his home. This no matter where he lived.
He always came back here.
Always came back to Memphis. And whenever he talked about Memphis, it was always home. And that's what this represents.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yep.
And now it's safe again.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yep.
And now it's safe again. Yeah, the crime is down to like a 100-year low. What President Trump has done with Memphis is quite remarkable, folks. I mean, it is. Here's a picture. I think this one's from Stephen Miller. That's the famous jungle room, which is right off the kitchen. If you came through the front door and kept walking, you'd end up at the stairs. You go to the side there, you could walk back and go into the jungle room on the first floor there. He wanted it to look like Hawaii. He loved Hawaii and would take trips there. Sometimes with a moment's notice, he'd call up the pilot and say, get the Lisa Marie, get the plane ready. We're going to Hawaii. And so he had the jungle room made to kind of resemble Hawaii. Well, President Trump made it into the jungle room.
In his semi-prime, at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
For some reason, I didn't know him, but I knew just about everybody else. Knew all of them. But I don't know why with Elvis. He was a little bit locked into Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, he was in Vegas a lot.
You know, but he was a very special guy. Everybody said what a good person. Yeah, he was just a good person with a complicated life.
Yeah.
The most famous person on the planet. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the most famous person on the planet. Let's see. Who else would be more famous than Elvis? Nobody that I can think of.
I don't know.
Anyway, but this is fun, and I want to
Who's more famous than Elvis, or as famous? Did he say me at the end? Oh, come on, let's listen again. Let's see.
On the planet, let's see. Who else would be more famous than Elvis? Nobody that I can think of. See? Anyway, but this is fun. And I want to thank you all. This is great.
Well, I think he was thinking about making a joke, but he decided to hold back. I think he's pretty well known around the world, no doubt about it. All right, here we go. Here's another one back in the living room.
Okay, let's take a look.
All right, so welcome to the living room.
Go ahead.
I want you to meet Joe Weinstein.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
Nice looking.
Yeah. So obviously this is the Medal of Freedom that Jack accepted on Elvis's behalf at your office in 2018.
Okay, so there's a Medal of Freedom that President Trump gave him.
We have it on
straight from your house.
Yes.
Somebody's going to grab it. Memphis is not that safe yet.
We have over 1 million items across the street that we have in archives, and very well protected. Almost as well protected as you are.
Do you ever get tired of that music?
Never.
I don't think so.
Great. Genius is genius.
I don't get tired of that music. I hear it a lot.
As a matter of fact, this is actually the last Grammy Elvis won, and it was for the live recording of How Great Thou Art, which is what we were just listening to. Which I know that song was something that you played at the White House when you presented Elvis the Medal of Freedom.
That was a big day.
Logan, find out who the older gentleman is in the middle there. He's old enough to have been contemporary of Elvis, I bet. So find out who that guy is. Let's see. There is a video as to why President Trump came to town. This is from our local Action News 5. We'll go back to a little bit of Graceland, but here's why he came here. Listen to this.
And why you're doing so well. So we brought together 22 federal agencies, state and local police, and 1,500 members of the incredible National Guard to smash the grip of the violent criminals on this iconic American city. The city is incredible. People love it so much, but they're just fed up. They can't stay, and now they're staying. I had somebody backstage say, "Sir, I was ready to leave, and now we're staying." I said, "Don't worry, it's going to get much better." "Oh, you haven't seen it yet. You know, we've just been here a short while. In another 2 or 3 months, you're going to have like no crime." For years prior to our involvement, Memphis had become known for something else, being the murder capital of the USA. That's not a good title. It was averaging far more than 1 murder per day, with a crime rate higher than Colombia, Mexico City, or Baghdad. In the year, I shouldn't be saying this, but here's the good news, it's been fixed. Join me in thanking, I tell you, every single law enforcement hero here today. We have a small number compared to what's doing the job, who helped make Memphis safe again. Memphis, just so you know, with all of the things we said, you have now developed a reputation as a city that's coming back stronger than any city in the country because of what's happened with crime and because your political leaders had the courage to do what they did. We're going to be down to almost no crime. You're going to be an almost crime-free city. You're going to be so proud of it. People are going to stay. They're going to actually come back because you have everything going, but you have that one horrible cloud over your head. And essentially, people know it's happening. But essentially, in another 2 months, you're not going to have anything. You're going to have a virtually crime-free city.
Now, I don't know what he's planning to do to add to it, but I'll tell you something, folks. It is a different climate here. You don't hear, and of course, you got to put it all into context. I've been back here 21 years, okay? We didn't feel like we were threatened, okay? We don't live in Memphis, okay? We live outside of Memphis. And if you go into work into Memphis, you generally are working in an area that's, the business area and highly safe. You go down to the Peabody. You go down to Beale Street, which I've only been to Beale Street once, and that was 35 years ago. I mean, I've been back here 21 years and haven't even stepped foot onto Beale Street because I don't drink and I have no reason to really step foot on Beale Street. Although I guess you could go in and get a Coca-Cola and listen to some jazz, but maybe one day I'll do that. But I've not even gone onto Beale Street, but I wouldn't be afraid to go on Beale Street. It's loaded with cops. So is the Peabody next door. I wouldn't feel afraid going down there. We do go down there. There's a lot of parts of Memphis you're fine. The law of the crime area is in areas where you wouldn't want to go, like Fraser and Orange Mound and a few other places. So to put it in perspective, most of the crime, I hate to say it, was black on black, and it's in areas that you would never go. But if you took a wrong turn, some of the folks might actually tell you, why are you here? Get out. I'm not kidding you. There are parts of town where some folks have gotten into and they're like, you don't need to be in this part of town. Get out of here. Because they're trying to tell you in a nice way, it's dangerous here. But overall, in the 21 years I've been back here, we haven't felt dangerous moving around the area. We knew there was crime, but we don't go into those areas. But there are people who would hear a lot of gunshots. And now people are reporting they don't hear those gunshots the last several months. Kids that literally could not play outside in parts of Memphis due to concerns of gang violence and drive-by shootings, they're playing outside. This is well reported for those of us living in the Mid-South. President Trump has really transformed Memphis. Now, Memphis is taking off with XAI, Elon being here, with that, buying the old building of Electrolux. You've got Google going across the river in Arkansas. We've got all kinds of businesses moving in here. There's a lot of building going on. Memphis, you can almost feel it. Memphis is on the verge of popping. I'll tell you something else. There are a lot of the young people that were born and raised here, or at least raised here, that thought the grass was greener over in Nashville. They're coming back. A lot of them are coming back due to the crime being cleaned up. And they're coming back because of the affordability to live here. I mean, you ought to get online and look what it costs to buy a really nice brick, one-level home, say, in East Memphis. You'll be shocked. or in Germantown, Collierville. You'll be shocked compared to other parts of the world. Now, even Nashville, it's gone more liberal government. It's way too big, way too crowded, way too expensive. Over the weekend, my wife showed me a picture of a home going for $500,000. It looked like something from 1990. It needed to be completely gutted and remodeled. And it was $500,000. You can come to the Mid-South and pick up a brand new built home, good size, for $500,000. Or you go to Nashville and pick one up for $500,000 that needs to be gutted and remodeled. And you can pick up homes that are very nice here for $300,000, $275,000, $250,000. They may need a little work, but you can pick up some very nice homes that don't need any work for $275,000, $300,000. Really nice. I'm talking crown molding, wood floors throughout, all brick outside. It's a very affordable area. Hopefully it'll stay that way. But with the crime being cleaned up, Memphis is about to pop. We can feel it. And I'm telling you, President Trump gets the credit because he's the one that sent in the National Guard. He's the one that got with the governor and sent in tons of state troopers into the area. They have really transformed Memphis. Now, what he's saying about the next few months, it's going to even be better. I don't know what he's referring to. If it just stays the way it is, most people are super, super happy. And building is growing. And investors are looking into the Mid-South now because now it's a viable place to do business and work. So Memphis has a real opportunity. And it is a great town. It has a great feel, has a great culture. I was just down in Florida. And I'm sorry, I couldn't live there. There's no culture. Oh, yeah, there's a culture, but I don't speak the language of that culture. It was mostly Spanish I would need to learn. But there's not a culture in a lot of these places. New York is a different culture than the South. Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia doesn't really have a culture. All these people from all over the world and the country come there. Nashville, they've about destroyed Nashville. It doesn't really have a culture. People have come from all over the country and the world to live in Nashville. Memphis has a culture, has its own culture, and it's a Southern culture. It's a friendly culture. I wish they would be a little more book read and be a little more up on what's going on, but it is a friendly culture. It's a polite culture. It's a Southern culture. And whenever I leave town and I get back here, I always am so happy to be back, and I feel at home because it is a culture that I grew up in with my mother and father being from here, my grandparents and great-grandparents. And Memphis is a special place, and I'm so glad they're cleaning it up because I love Memphis. I really do. I could live anywhere in the country. I deliberately moved my family back here 21 years ago. I love it, and I am so thankful to President Trump for cleaning it up as he's done. Now, here he is, I think, coming out of Graceland. Here we go. Big house, folks. I mean, it looks kind of big from the outside with the columns and all, but when you go inside, you'll be shocked at how small it is if you ever come to town and do a tour. I got to get your mother there, Logan. Let me go back to the jungle room. Here we go.
This is actually a replica of a guitar that Elvis used in his 1973 Aloha from Hawaii concert, and I was wanting to know if you would sign it for us.
Oh, sure.
For the archives.
Wow.
So you can sit here if you like.
That's a big honor.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, this will be for the archives.
Sure.
There you go. There's a marker.
Okay. Where do you want me to sign that here?
You can sign it right here if you'd like.
Okay.
All right, so apparently you're going to be able to...
It's a great honor.
He acts like he's shocked by that, Logan. I don't think he knew that was coming.
Have you tested this pen yet?
I think you're the first.
Should we just
right
give me a piece of paper just to make sure at what level?
See, he's used a Sharpie enough. He knows, so you got to test it out.
That way, then ruin the guitar.
Exactly.
I have one of his Sharpies, by the way.
Okay, not bad.
There you go. Now he knows what he's working with. He signed that book for me and then handed me the Sharpie to keep, which says Donald Trump, President Trump on it, the White House, his signature. Well, I have one of those Sharpies. That's funny. He wanted to test the Sharpie out so he didn't ruin anything. He is a perfectionist, just so you guys know. He doesn't want dogs around, I'm told, by a very close source. And he does not want dog hair.
Oh. You never know. These are hard to sign. but they came out pretty good.
Is that the first guitar you signed?
Just about. Now, Biden couldn't do that. He'd have to send it out.
He'd have to send it out for the auto pen. You know, Logan, you notice the way he's being right there is the way he was when we were with him. He's very mellow and laid back in a small setting like that. That's the way he is. Let's see. What else do we got? Is this the same thing or a different one? Let's see.
One that had the karate patch on it. Elvis had 2 8th degree black belts in karate. One was in Kenpo, and that's what this
Was
patch
he
was
really
for.
good, or was it just...
Actually, he was really good. He
Okay.
started practicing.
Could I have taken him in a fight?
I don't...
Could I have taken Elvis in a fight? Let me back that up.
Actually, he was really good. He
Okay.
started practicing.
Could I have taken him in a fight?
I don't know. You might.
I think he would have been respectful enough to let you win.
Yes, he probably would.
But he and Bruce Lee really brought
Really?
karate. Yeah, he would have been. But he and Bruce Lee really brought karate to the West.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good.
Yep.
Bruce Lee was pretty good, right?
There you go. Now that right behind President Trump, that window there, that's the kitchen. That's the kitchen right there. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's the kitchen. Just to get a feel for how he's moving through the house. All right, pull that down. Let me see if I got another one left. That's kind of cool that he came to town and went to Graceland. Is there anything else? Am I missing anything else, guys? Margot took a lot of these. What's Margot's title at the White House? Official White House Account Special Assistant to the President and Communications Advisor. Well, Margot did a good job. Let's see. Is there anything else we missed, Logan? You scroll through. How many of you guys have been to Graceland in there? Did you guys figure out who the older gentleman was in the middle? You didn't even look, did you? Yeah, I know. See, what you guys don't understand is these boys in the control room get a nice big long checklist from me of all these things I want to see done. So while they're sitting there producing my show, they're doing 2 or 3 things. You go in that control room and they're surrounded by computers because they'll know if Mr. B walks in and they're scrolling on Instagram or something, there's going to be a come to Jesus moment. Because when you're producing a show, guess what? You're only pushing a button here and there. So while you're doing that, I want you over here producing something else on another laptop or another computer off to the side. I want you, what is the word, Logan? Multitasking. So sometimes I ask them to do something in there and they don't do it right away because they're actually busy doing something else off to the side, which is why I sometimes produce my own show with my own buttons right here because they don't move fast enough. But I don't complain about that because I realize I got them in there multitasking. Because they know that I expect so much product and quality product and content coming out of that room every day. The man in the middle is who? Oh, he's the Jack Snowden? Snowden. He's the longtime CEO of Graceland and Elvis Presley Enterprises. I think the home itself is owned by Elvis Presley's granddaughter now that her mother, Lisa Marie, passed away. I think this is President Trump. Let's see now. Was he, okay, this was President Trump on, I was wondering which way they took him to Elvis's home. I was hoping they didn't take him through the garbage part of town. There he is. Any audio with that? There's not audio. All right. I was thinking, oh my word, what part of town did they take him through? I hope he didn't see the bad parts of town. He would think, I failed. But it looks like they took him through part of the better part, that's for sure. So there he is, en route to Graceland. All right. Anything else, Logan? Have I missed anything? I guess not. Well, I'm glad he made it to town. I'm glad that he got a chance to go to Graceland. That's all fun. I think we need to go to Graceland sometime in the next few months, Logan, and bring your mother and do some videos and bring our own videos back to the news desk. You know, I meant to, during the commercial break, I meant to put on my Elvis jacket, my blue one or my red one, my Elvis racing jacket. I forgot to do that. Oh, well. The regulars know I have an Elvis racing jacket, the blue one and the red one, but I don't wear them very often. I keep them for very special occasions. Tonight would have been one of those nights, Logan. What's wrong with you guys? I guess that's it. I don't want to leave anything. You know what he used to? Do you know what one of Elvis's favorite meals? Because you saw Trump in the kitchen there. You know what one of his favorite meals was, right, Logan? What was it? Yeah, fried peanut butter and banana. Yep. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for real quick. There's a video out there of his former cook at one time showing folks what it was he loved, but I'm not going to be able to find it. But that was a long time ago, but they filmed her talking about one of his favorite meals. But there you go. All right, that's kind of fun, right, Logan? What do you think about us going to Graceland sometime in the next few months and then bringing back some footage to share with the audience? All you boys been to Graceland in there? Does all the guys in the control room want to go the same day we go? We could do a field trip. Yeah, I think we should do a field trip. All right. Well, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to show President Trump here in the Mid-South, particularly at Graceland. So there you go. All right. That was a fun show, right, Logan? Yeah, you wouldn't say otherwise, would you? No. The numbers hold? People still watching? All right, let's call it a night. Roll the music. There we go. We finished with a little fun. WorldviewFoundation.com if you appreciate all we're doing. WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. President Trump has left the building. He's left Memphis, the Mid-South, that is. He is back in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. But thank you, President Trump, for cleaning up Memphis and the Mid-South. We sure appreciate it. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values,